Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Solana Changelog. I'm Colin and I'm joined by my colleague Joe from the developer relations team at Solana Foundation. And I guess quick shout outs. The first one is the Stack Exchange. And yes, we do have our own Stack Exchange where people go and both ask questions and also provide answers for them for like typical issues that they're having whilst developing on Solana. Just want to remind everybody to go there, contribute to it. Make sure you're like upvoting both good questions and answers because it is actually an incredible resource for building on Solana.
Yeah, seriously, guys. I mean, think about in the future when you could just look up any kind of error you're facing or like something funny that you've run into, like you can do with most like really popular frameworks and things like that in Web 2. You'll be able to find those answers just like through Google, you know? So we really want to see that activity. And there's also a lot of really great resources on there as far as the people on there from Solana and from different ecosystem partners. So totally use that.
One thing that I also find interesting is that even sometimes I go to the Stack Exchange for a particular question and I found that either I had asked the question myself previously or I've even given the answer myself previously. But yeah, just like the nature of building stuff, you kind of like forget things as you go along. So yeah, so it's like an incredible long lasting resource. So yeah, definitely contribute to that.
The more the merrier, you know, comes up more than once. There you go. Another cool thing too to mention at the beginning here is if you guys are going to the next Hacker House in Lisbon, or if you are going to attend any Hacker Houses in the future, maybe even other events, we are actually starting to use a bounty board provided by Heavy Duty Builders. And these guys have really done a lot of great work. And basically what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to compete in challenges and earn points and kind of like stack up on the leaderboard and like all while kind of learning about Solana, you know, like there's some interesting challenges. Like some are like, take a look at some research and like answer some questions. Some are like deploy a program that does a certain thing. So it's really fun stuff. And like, it gives you some cool stuff to do and learn while you're at a Hacker House or something like that.
Really. And it's like, who doesn't like to collect like cool magic internet points? It was also like quite cool because I think we ran this in both hackathons that happened last week. One was CalHacks, the other one was HackTX. Don't want to gloat, but my university did beat Joe, so you know it's kind of like a nice gamification as well, just by learning and building on Solana.
I'll get you guys next time, don't worry.
Yeah, you can try. On to proposals, we have one that is the Lamport Withdrawal Authority. And I think, this one is kind of like an interesting one because it's something that was actually proposed by a community member, which goes to show like proposals to like changes on the network or validator client doesn't only have to come from like the core engineers. We in the community can actually also suggest these proposals and kind of get feedback from the core contributors to see what they think about it. And yeah, this one in particular was around having a particular authority key just for withdrawing Lamports, because I think currently it's using the withdraw authority. And this particular member think that, it's something that can probably introduce some kind of like risk because that withdraw authority is used for so many things. They just want like a particular key just to withdraw Lamport. And again, this is just in discussion. And yeah, you can kind of like go to the GitHub to kind of see the comments that the core contributors have had towards that.
That is pretty cool though, if you think about it. I mean, you've got a community member proposing a new proposal that engineers are then like jamming on and like speaking to them about through the GitHub comments. And like, this is obviously not the first time this happened. This happens a lot. So like, it just goes to show that, you know, if you have a good idea and you really know like your stuff about at least the particular source that you're going to be proposing about, you can submit proposals and they'll actually get reviewed. And if it's legitimate and if it's a cool idea, like the conversation will flow. It's kind of interesting, you know?
Yep.
Open source.
I guess that's just I was just about to say the same thing, the beauty of open source.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So anyway, let's dive into some commits. So the first commit that I want to cover, we talked about it last week a little bit, the immutable deploy. So it's the Solana deploy command versus Solana program deploy. Last week we mentioned that you're going to be moved to program deploy, right? Because you're going to have to be using the upgradable loader. That's like officially done now. Like when that release comes out, that command will no longer be active, the Solana deploy. So last week it was kind of like in testing. Now you got to use Solana program deploy, and then you're good to go.
Oh, yeah. And I think I also saw in that particular PR that you can actually still deploy immutable programs. You just have to pass the final, like -- final CLI argument for that. So yeah, it's like you don't actually lose anything. Yeah, by migrating to Solana program deploy. It's just the newer, bigger, better version.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the other commit that kind of caught my eye was around error messages. I mean, who doesn't love a good error message? So doing the Lord's work on that. So yeah, there's improved error messages from the RPC. Like one instance of that was like the get FIFA message that kind of just return an error of invalid length. But now you actually have like a more specific issue of what actually occurred. So like, yeah, I mean, we'll probably spend most of our time debugging code and figuring out what error messages actually mean. So anything to make that clearer and better is like, it's a solid win.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's so good. That's great. And then if we want to get down to the resources now, another cool thing that we saw was Acheron Crypto, as he goes by, who created SolPG, Solana Playground, that we've actually covered a few times on here. That platform, that IDE now supports tutorials. So like the proposal or the front end work, like the TypeScript stuff, like the support for different like client side code has come a long way. And now you can actually create a tutorial and provide a link where your tutorial comes up. Like you've got your test code and you've got like some docs about it, and people can like interact with your tutorial. Super cool stuff. Do you see that?
Yeah. I saw that. And I think it's a huge deal because I think, it just kind of like makes the process of, I think not even just about onboarding new developers, but like teaching online is just going to go up a whole nother level, because it's not that it's just tutorials. It's actually interactive tutorials as well, where like based on certain things that the user has done, you can like run some automated commands behind that. And I think even for like our workshops, this is going to be a game changer. So shout out to Acheron for working on that. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, workshops, all that. And plus, like, people are very familiar with these kinds of tools from like Web 2, you know, like there's a lot of web-based tutorials with IDEs like all in one.
Yep.
And now we have one for Solana. Pretty cool.
Yep. Super dope. And the Solana ecosystem is just hot, and it continues to get hotter with all of these changes.
That's right.
Yep. That wraps it off for this week of the Solana Changelog. I'm Colin, and again, this is my colleague Joe. And join us next week to hear the roundup of the changes. See you next time.
Later.
Ciao.